Ryan.
Hey, Rachel. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm feeling fantastic, Rachel. I'm feeling yum yum. The utmost amount of yum yum is being felt right now.
Full yum yum.
A full yum yum. No half yums are happening right now.
No half yums are allowed.
No half yums are allowed, but sometimes you feel a half yum, but you can't say it on the pod because we don't allow it.
You can't give a half yum.
But you can feel it. But I'm not feeling half yum.
No, you're feeling full yum yum.
So all the yum yum talk is because of the iconic line of dialogue from Commander Nandi from Star Trek Discovery. And we're here, Rachel, to look back on the third season of Star Trek Discovery.
Where there was not enough Commander Nandi.
Well, you're right. I was going to say, well, she had a whole No.
No.
More Nandi. Where's her show? In which we find out why she licked her lips and flicked her hair back and said yum yum. Where's Star Trek Nan? Huh? Where's that show? Where's that show, Star Trek Nan, in which...
Well, we recently covered Star Trek 09.
Oh, Nan! They should have called...
Nan!
That's the next Star Trek movie, Star Trek Nan, in which it's them going, oh, Nan, you wacky character, you. Oh, Nan. And then she just rolls her eyes.
Like Carry On or Police Squad movie.
Yeah. It's a comedy film.
Yeah.
But with Star Trek Discovery style comedy, so it's a tragedy.
A science vessel's practically a museum. Okay, well, museums are cool, so that's what someone who lives in a museum would say. You live in a museum.
So we are here to talk about Season 3. If people have not watched the third season of Star Trek Discovery, well, tough. We're going to be talking about it. We've covered all the episodes, so we're here to recap and look back and discuss the season overall. Rachel, you're smiling. What are you smiling about?
Because I was saving a story for this episode.
Ooh, I love stories. That's why I watch Star Trek Discovery.
Yes.
I love watching stories. That's why I'm here. Go on, tell me your story.
So as you are aware, I've been carpooling with a colleague from work, and I've been talking to her about the podcast.
Yeah, and we didn't want to say it on the pod until now, but their name is Nandi.
Yeah.
They're very much a person who licks their lips and say yum yum in reply to things. They have this breathing apparatus on their face. So go on.
You, of course, are just taking my word for that. You have not met this person.
Have we met Nan? Really? We've all felt like we've met Nan, but we haven't really
met
Nan.
Nan, but we haven't gotten to know Nan.
That's it. I mean, sure, it took her a few weeks on being aboard the Discovery to tell them her name.
Yes, because apparently that wasn't necessary. But so, Nandi,
your friend that you carpool with,
yes,
Nandi, the brilliant engineer, Nandi from Parson. Your good friend Nandi.
You're going hard on this, and I don't know why. This amount of build-up is going to make this story sound so lame. So I was driving home with Nandi, and she was explaining that the other day she finished up a podcast, and she's subscribed to ours in anticipation of our next series, because I gave her the heads up of what we were doing next.
Oh, and Nan's familiar with this show.
Yes. Oh, well, somewhat.
I love Nan now.
I just said that I really don't like Star Trek Discovery, and that's what we're doing now. And I would encourage her more to wait for when we
what we're going to be talking about next, of course.
Because she hasn't watched that show.
Right.
So... it auto-played our latest episode,
nice.
Which at the time was that Hope Is You Part 2.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then she was just like, she paused for a moment
and said,
and contemplated how to say it. And she's like,
Brian has a sexy voice.
I didn't, like, you said that you didn't like Discovery, but I had no idea how much you didn't like this show.
Well, and that's coming from a character in the show. That's saying a lot, people. So, Rachel, you stated at the very beginning of our season revisit, review, rewatch that season 3 was the best season. And your stipulation for that was it was the most enjoyably bad season to you, yet you also said it was the most competent season at the same time.
Oh,
we're here now.
You're showing me those receipts.
How do you feel now? Seriously, how do you feel now? Where does this stand for you? What is your feelings on season 3?
I don't know if I would still say that it's the best season. But I feel like I can put up with the kind of bad that this season is more so than the way that the first 2 seasons were bad. Because each season has its unique attributes, which I believe are demerit against the show. And other people find those same things endearing or enjoy them.
But you don't.
But I don't.
So, would you say that the show has gotten better as it goes along? How would you go about it?
No, because...
But this is the best season to you.
But it has the same problems.
But that doesn't mean that it isn't the better, like it's better.
No, but I can't in good conscience say yes.
Then why is
But I can't in reality... So, I can't give a full yum yum, and there's no half yums allowed, so I just don't know where I am, Ryan. I don't know what's going on.
My question then turns into, if it's got the same issues as it always has, then how is this any better than it is at being worse? Because to me, this is the worst season, partly because of that. It hasn't adapted. And the things that it has adapted to, I think, is for the detriment of the quality of the show rather than the improvement of the show. Especially if you look at it as the whole thing, not just as an individual season. When you do watch season 3 and remember how the show started, it is bewildering that we're at this state to begin with. I know people like our good friend Julio says that you can watch this in isolate. Like, you can still absorb this as long as the show's good now, then who cares about the past? But I can't separate the fact that this show had a past. Thus, I think that this season has some major issues with that attached to it.
I think I know what it is. When we originally did that first episode...
Of season 3.
Season 3 had beaten me into submission. Of, like, I was like, this just is what it is. And at least now they can't go, hey, there's this reference to this other thing and drag up characters that they know that some of the audience already knows and likes to try and give them good karma.
They didn't have the ability to go as heavy on the references as they used to. But
the structural problems are still very much there. The script, the visual style is still the same, which is one that I do not particularly enjoy. Though I do feel like, you know, the main character of CGI Sparks wasn't in this season quite as much.
I miss CGI Sparks. Where did that character arc go? I will say
it fizzled out.
It's weird because one of my main complaints...
Just gonna ignore my pun, okay?
Bravo, congratulations.
Congratulations! 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 Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations! Congratulations!
It's weird because in the past, I've complained about how Star Trek Discovery relied so heavily on the references and the you remember this aspect. But as we're in season 3 now, and its whole thing is it's forging its own path now, and we're exploring undiscovered countries and so on and so forth.
Was that meant to be a pun?
It was a reference, just like Star Trek Discovery does. So it's weird because I found this season the least interesting, and I'm wondering, is it because it didn't have any of the the familiar things of Star Trek to it, and instead it felt like any generic sci-fi show. While before, it was any generic sci-fi show, but they also had Spock, and they also had Klingons.
Maybe.
This season offered up as a promise, we're exploring new areas of the we're making our own canon now. We're ahead in the future. What does the Federation, what does the world of Star Trek look like? And I don't think I learned anything. Like, when you hear that, Rachel, when you hear that pitch, you're thinking, oh, so many things. It feels like there's so many things you can do. And when I watched this season, it felt so small and so empty. And I know it's about disconnection and all that, but I didn't feel like I experienced anything new, which is what the promise was. I felt like, it's all the old same shit again, but now we've got even less stuff because now we don't even have the Klingons, now we don't even have Spock, now we don't even have the structural foundations of the Star Trek universe we had in those first two seasons. Now we just have wandering about and just going, what caused the season-long mystery? I don't feel like I really got to find out anything new about the races that are involved or the characters. I never felt like
Navarre.
But we didn't get to learn much about Navarre. We just know that it exists.
That's my point. Like, we have this concept that has been around for decades.
Yeah. In our world, in our real world, yeah.
Like the conversation piece of Unification Part 3, right?
Yeah.
And I still don't feel like I have any connection or full understanding of that process, what it means, the implications for the world. I'm just like, I don't see how this is any different other than the fact that they are both on the same planet now.
Here's how I would describe the Navarre situation and a lot of the familiar things we know, and now we're in the future, and so we've seen how they progressed. Going on Navarre, going on the unification, for example, when that idea was presented in TNG, we've had almost 3 decades since that, so you've had, not talking about writers, just general people like you or I, just think up in our head, I wonder what that would be like if they unified. What would actually be that? And the first few things that you think of, like, well, I think the Romulans would be, like, outcasted in the society a little bit more, like, put to the side. The Vulcans would be kind of snooty. I think that there would be half-breeds and there would be half and that. And none of it rises above those general boilerplate thoughts. They never go into anything deeper than what I can just commonly daydream and think about and all of that. They don't feel like they ever dive into the veins of the ideas and go through the currents and actually explore anything deeper. It is just, hey, you know the concept of unification? You know the concept of these things that you would like to see done in the future, like holograms existing and all this stuff? They're there, but they don't add any interesting wrinkles to it that you think would happen naturally, like we've seen in previous iterations of Star Trek, where the Klingons in the 60s show are very different to the Klingons in TNG. Right? But here it's like the Vulcans are the same as they ever were. The Romulans are the same as they ever were, except for now they just live on the same street.
But Ryan, I think if it did those things, we would be so shocked.
Because it would be a surprise.
It would be such a surprise and so out of character for Star Trek Discovery at this stage to deal with the depth of themes that they bring up.
Or ideas. Just ideas.
And bring ideas to fruition in a way that is satisfying and heavily links to the deep nature of the Federation and Starfleet of being a diplomatic association of people and planets.
Other than the fact that a little boy screams so loud that people can't travel fast now.
Oh my god!
What has changed? Other than superficial tech? Because the Federation, although crippled, still has the exact same fucking structural ideals as they did in season 1 and 2. Nothing has changed. Nothing evolved. Like,
oh my god,
superficial.
you are so right. Because when you said that, I was just like, oh well, yeah, we know that the Federation had this many planets, and then I was just like, wait, that isn't in Discovery.
And that's superficial, because that's just like superficial details. But like when you actually get into the things of, really, what about this version of the Federation that was scrambling and dying is different to the version of the Federation and Starfleet we saw at the end of season 1 that lose in the Klingon War? Not much, other than they had a bigger structural foundation, but they operate in the exact same fashion, and it's been almost 1,000 years. Heck, in our lifetime, we've seen how much the UN has changed from its initial foundational points, and that's what I mean of the
Why do we have to keep on talking about it? Because I just keep on realizing how bad this show is.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, well, we have to because we're doing a recap, but with season 3... other than it being extremely boring, the central mystery being a complete dud, I think that's the biggest crime to me. Is it's promising with its pitch. We're going to cut off the ties of the old series, old material.
We are going to let these ideas fly.
We are free to fly and explore new things in our own way and actually develop stuff and not be restricted. And it's the same as it ever was. It's the same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was?
Same as it ever was.
Season 3 is held up by the mystery, as is each season a central kind of mystery or theme, like a plot thing. The burn. What did you think of the burn, Rachel? Is this the best mystery structural thing of any season, or is it the worst? Because to me, it's the worst.
Yeah, I think the Red Angel ended up being better upon reflection.
Yeah, that's so disgusting to say. But
I know, I feel sleazy saying that, but it is the way that I'm feeling at the moment.
Why is the burn so bad in comparison to the Klingon War, the Red Angel? What makes it fail so hard?
Oh, why? You know what? That's a really good question. And I'm burnt out on trying to answer it. Like, because there's no end to the question of why. But I will at least attempt to answer it because, you know, this is a podcast and we are meant to be having a discussion about these things. And I think it is because in the previous 2 seasons, though they had the moment of revealing the mystery and then a couple of episodes later revealing it again, this one felt the most insulting because they say pretty much like the exact same thing at both of those stages of the reveal. And it makes it feel like the writers are assuming that I am the stupid one and I didn't get it the first time.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm more so thinking of season 2 with the Red Angel, they have the take back scenes, which isn't insulting to me as a watcher in terms of my intelligence. It makes me think that the writers are stupid.
So you don't like being insulted by your intelligence, but you're okay to feel like the writers are dumb.
Yes.
I understand that. I think what makes The Burn a dissatisfying mystery and story and structural thing, other than the reveal of it the reveal of it is just insulting to the audience. Like, there's no fun to be had there. No one could have guessed that. And the breadcrumbs on the rewatch are so minimal that you could say anything as a breadcrumb to it if you really wanted to.
And the ones that are there
are constructed in such a way where they only exist to be breadcrumbs. There's no sense of anything else.
That wasn't even what I was going to say, but that is true.
Yeah, they exist as writing manipulations.
Yes. It feels like, yes, we've given you a breadcrumb, but then we sweep it up so there's no trail, and we can say that we left something for you if you look really hard. But by that, I'm also trying to illustrate the point that they drop a few hints, but there's no trail for you to lead forward and backwards once you know what happened, which is what good and great storytelling does.
So my big issue with The Burn, and I've said this many times throughout the season, is there was no building up of the stakes or peril of the burn itself. It was more the stakes were built up via the burn had caused society to degrade, thus the Emerald Chain, but the burn itself did not rack up any stakes like the Red Angel did. The threat, what is the Red Angel? What's their intentions? We keep meeting it here. The Klingon War
also
as well is a war.
Benefit of Pike.
And then the Klingon War is a literal war, and that, although we didn't see the war as much as we would have liked, it fed into the threat of Lorca on the ship because it was benefiting him, you see. So we had stuff like that. There was the building up of peril, tension, while this, the whole thing...
Both of those first seasons have some sort of flip.
Yes, while here we're just told that it's important to solve this, and the only...
Straight down the line.
The only reason it's really important to solve this is because it happened in the first place.
Michael says so.
No, yeah, Michael says so, but from a viewer perspective, you would obviously want to know, well, what would have caused that? Because they set it up like it's a mystery, not just some natural event or weapon that went off or blah, 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 blah. But really, the show never gives you any reason to care because it's not like it's a looming presence. It happened one time over 100 years ago, and everyone reacts to it now like they don't. Everyone reacts to it like they acknowledge it happened and they're just trying to live with it. But Michael's screaming at the top of her lungs, no, drop everything so we can figure out this mystery instead of rebuilding society. And that's what I think is the major fault, is we could have figured out the mystery of the burn.
Her whole theory is that we can never rebuild society until we know what caused the burn.
And I rejected that hypothesis because, again, the burn...
Which is originally what Vance says. But,
and I agree with Vance.
But then Vance does the math alphabet speech.
So then it was just a non-dynamic mystery threat because it only happened once. It's not like as if throughout the series it kept happening and they're like, we have to deal with this. We have to find out what's attacking us, what's going on. It is just, it happened
relatively easy fix.
Relatively easy fix.
Instead of happening once, have it happened once, we've managed to rebuild our world, but now smaller versions are happening.
Yeah.
And when they get to the thing, it's because the hollows are starting to degrade and Su'Kal is crying infrequently, but not as strongly.
Yeah.
So then they have a reason why it's now more than just Michael says so. That's a relatively easy fix. It would still be incredibly fucking stupid. But you can have at least a little bit more of an inciting incident that happens within the time frame of the season that we as the audience are thrust into.
Because the whole time when I was watching it, I didn't care about solving the burn. I'd rather the show focused on rebuilding society. That was far more of an interest to me. It felt far more Star Trek, and it felt like that's what every other character wanted to do. But Michael said, the burn is the most important thing that we have to solve in the universe. And we solve it, and I'm sorry, but it all hinges then on what the reveal of it is, and the reveal is stupid, and it makes you go, oh, well, all of this was kind of stupid.
I think the audience has to have a satisfying experience of the season. I think they have to feel it's come full circle and that they've had an arc.
So, what was the best episode of this season to you? When you look back, what's the one that
I need to literally look back.
Fondly on?
For the majority of episodes, I'm like...
You can't even remember?
No.
I guess that says something. In the first 2 seasons, you could at least remember plots or moments or like things.
I only remember the annoying ones.
You don't remember any good episodes here.
I remember that we somewhat liked the second episode, which was very Western inspired.
And felt like an episode of Enterprise. I think that's the best episode. I think Far From Home is probably also the best episode of Discovery. It utilizes all of the Discovery things to a T, and it worked. I also think it's ironic that it's the episode without Michael, and it works the best too. I don't know if that's a statement on its own, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
I think all the characters were competent enough in that episode as well. Again, it reminded me of an Enterprise episode, so that was fine. The antagonist was good, and the threats were reasonable, and it wasn't like insane where like Deus Ex Machinas walk in or this or this or this. The worst aspect of that episode was the Deus Ex Machina of Michael at the end.
Yeah.
And that was like the worst thing about that episode. To me, it stands so clearly above the rest of the season. And if the rest of the season was on that level, then I would be so on board. I mean, even when you look back at the rest of the season, it's weird that this episode exists because remember the bartender guy in that episode?
Yeah.
You look at the end of the season and it's like, oh, that was a character in this show, huh? Like I know it was a one and done, but it's like, huh, right? That happened. Like that's the weird thing about the season is so many things you look back on and go, oh yeah, that's right, the seed ship, or
okay.
Oh,
well, do you want to quickly run up through each of the episodes and their plots?
Oh, if we can remember them?
Yeah.
Okay, but do you think the second episode was the best?
Yes, I agree.
So the first episode is that Hope Is You Part 1, where Michael lands in the future and is high.
Yes.
And meets Book.
Yep. Far From Home we went through. Then what's the next one?
People of Earth, the worst episode of the entire series, probably, to me. It's pretty much there. They go to... When I say they go to Earth, I mean they dick about for half the episode telling us about how much Michael has changed, and then they go to Earth and wrap up the plot real quick.
Yeah. Then...
I don't know. You have to tell me.
You don't remember what the next one is? Because
Nope.
who do we meet in People of Earth?
Oh, forget me not. The episode we did with Julio.
Yeah.
That's the episode that we did, but that episode is about Adira.
Going to the...
Adira, everyone's favorite character. Then
planet.
the next one's Die Trying.
Yes.
Where Nan, Bye Bye Nan.
Bye Bye Nan.
And then from there, I don't know. Is it a Book episode? Oh, Scavengers, right?
Yes.
Book is imprisoned on Quarry Planet, and we meet that amazing character Rin. Remember Rin?
Yeah.
Why was he in this whole season?
I don't know.
We don't know. Nobody knows. Episode 7, right? That's what we're up to now.
Yep.
Ooh. Oh.
You're doing really well, Ryan.
Oof. Oofa. Oofa. I know that there's like one in between the 2 Book episodes, and that's what makes it very frustrating, because in a way, it makes this 7th episode supremely forgettable.
What did they get from the Quarry Planet?
Rin.
And?
Book.
Why did Book go to that planet in the first place?
Oh, is it Unification 3?
Yes.
Fuck, how could I forget? Easily. In fact, it kind of really doesn't equate to anything in the series, huh?
No, it doesn't really
and then
matter.
then the 8th episode is one of the worst episodes. Book has brother dramas.
Yes, do you remember the title of this one?
It has a stupid title. Nah, you have to tell me. The?
No. The Sanctuary.
Oh, fuck. The Sanctuary, of course. How could I
and
forget?
then we have...
Terra Firma Part 1.
Yes, and Terra Firma Part 2.
Which is redemption arc for Space Hitler. Sorry, Heather, she's Space Hitler. Not going to take that back, not going to retract that. In fact, double down on it.
Like the double parter.
Double parter, double down. Then it's Sukal.
Yes.
And then it's Sukal where we meet the cause of the burn, and then we answer that, but then we doodle around for 2 more episodes wondering what it is. There is a tide where they take over the ship and we have to get it back, and then That Hope Is You Part 2, in which we end the show.
Yes.
So, what was the worst episode to you? Was it People of Earth when you look back, or did another one stick out to you? Because you didn't seem to hate that one as much as me, but that one sticks in my craw so much with how much they have to tell and not show. And also again, when you look back, they went to Earth at one point, and it really equated to nothing, huh?
Okay, can I go on a bit of a tirade? Okay, so That Hope Is You is the worst season opener for the season, of course.
Mm-hmm. For any season.
Worst introduction of a character in this season, I think, goes to That Hope Is You Part 1, because it's so stupid, yes. And it's just completely random, and they don't even use that as a thing. It's just a contrivance for contrivance sake.
Well, what about the terrible entrance of Osira, where Osiris is like, I'm here too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, People of Earth is the worst structurally, I think.
Yeah.
Forget Me Not has one of the worst side villains. Because there's that
trill.
There's specifically that one trill that's like, I'm just gonna murder you.
Until he doesn't.
Yeah, until he's just like, oh wait, she's not that bad.
Fuck, remember the trill?
Yep. Die Trying is the worst because it's the one that I'm forgetting the most about.
Well, that was almost 2 episodes in one. Where it's like, we're at the Federation HQ, but also, let's save a seed ship.
Yep.
But you liked that one because it had family.
It had
a hollow family.
Oh yeah, and it brought up the lullaby.
So that was your favorite episode.
The lullaby. Scavengers is the worst for one of the worst for melodrama.
Yeah.
But I think overall the worst, the episode that I liked the least.
Yeah.
I think I am going to give it to Sukal.
That episode is like a nightmare. Whenever I think about it, it's like a nightmare. Like I'm living this nightmare again. Like I woke up from a cold sweat.
I don't know if I can think of anything redeeming about that episode because so much of the season hinges on it, and it's such a disappointment to me. And I am so disappointed in the way that they coded the character Sukal as well. Even though they try and justify it, the way that they present it and the way that they've directed the performer, it just makes me feel so bitter.
This has been an amazing season of Star Trek Discovery.
We got introduced to a plethora of new people in the future. New characters to add to the roster of characters that the show already has. So many new characters that we had to eject a couple of the old ones for good measure. Who of the new people that we got to meet did you like and think it was worth it?
I did end up liking Book.
Really? Really? Because this whole fucking time, you started the season being like, I like Book. He's fun. And every episode without him, you feel like you miss him. And then as we've been going along, you've been like criticizing Book. And you're like, I don't know what I've been thinking. He's like a completely useless character. And you've been like really railroading him. Is he a character that exists better when you don't actually have watched the episode recently and you think about him as like this better character than he actually is? Or is it because he's sexy? It's because he's sexy, isn't it? You know who's even better than him and sexier? Admiral Vance. Now that's a sexy man and a good character.
Yes, but
He's the only one I feel like it's worth going to the future to meet.
I can't forgive him for his speech in the last episode.
What about Book's many speeches?
That's just something that I'm like, I don't know if I can go back from that. Book does have, I think it is just, Book is sexy. I do agree that Vance is a better character overall, but because of the way that they leave him to set up the next season, that I'm apprehensive to say that he's my favorite that we met, and I think we both agree that it's not Adira.
No. No. I think the most...
And it's not Sukal.
I think the worst... I mean, the best character is Vance. I think the worst new figure...
Oh, no. You know who is the best?
Well, who? Grudge? Grudge?
She's a queen, but no.
She's a queen. Well, who?
Not Tim Roth.
Oh, Cowboy.
Cowboy
The fact that we
Man.
can't remember his name says a lot.
Yeah, because he's a villain.
I was going to say the worst new character that we got introduced to has to be Grey. There's no reason for Grey to even be in this show other than they are going to be in the next season. They do nothing with Grey as a character. I learned nothing about Grey other than they existed, but I don't know anything about them. I could not tell you who they are, what they want, anything other than like they want to be seen, but I can't give you a fully fledged character from Grey. I just can't.
Cello?
Yeah, they can play the cello, but I can't even remember if that's something they knew how to do or something they learned from their previous Trill hosts. So
yeah, that's why I was so shrill.
But they're not like
Adira,
who's an art genius.
Okay, I'm an art genius.
Grey is a misstep. They could have actually done something with this character, and they chose not to.
That's not a criticism that's that specific to Grey, though. It's the most egregious when it comes to Grey.
Yeah.
But they could have done something with this character, and they don't. Applies to almost every single character.
Yeah, and behind Grey, waiting in the wings, is Rin. I don't even know why Rin was in this show, other than the actress of Tilly is her husband in real life, and he just might have wanted to be in the project at some point. Other than potential like nepotism, I don't even know why Rin is a character outside of that singular episode.
Yeah, and that's only why the actor plays Rin. That's not why the
But you could write a whole character dedicated to a single actor, and that's enough.
Yeah.
And Osira, the worst villain in all of Discovery, and that's saying a lot because all the villains stink in Discovery. They all suck.
Oh, what about Laurel?
She was never a villain, remember? Although she might have been
she's
structured as a rapist for her entire run in season 1. She's not an antagonist, even though she remember Laurel?
That's why I wanted to bring her up, not because she's actually a villain, just to be like, hey.
So, we're in a new season, the best season, and what makes it the best season to people? The characters. Who was the best character this season? Who came out the best? Who did you enjoy the most? Who was someone that was good in this season? Overall, out of all of our characters, who?
Gotta be Grudge.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Grudge, she's a queen. I don't even know who to say.
That's why... Like, no, genuinely, Grudge has a very clear demeanor. She has a presence.
No, I can't go with this. I'm sorry. I can't. I thought I could, but as soon as you started this, I realized I'm getting angry. But seriously, this is the first season I walk out of going, I don't know if any of the characters are good.
It's definitely not Michael.
It used to be Saru. We know it's not Michael. It used to be Saru, but...
It used to be Saru.
But boy, did they shit the bed with his character in these final few episodes. And throughout the whole season, they've been screwing him over, making him look like an idiot.
And Michael has the exact same journey that she has each season, so...
Paul is useless.
Yeah,
most of his stuff happens off screen.
Paul becomes a father, and so does Hugh.
Off screen, yeah. Tilly, what did Tilly even get up to this season?
Oh, well, Tilly became first officer and then captain.
That's right. But, like, that's, like, going up the ranks, but, like, I can't think of, like, a theme that was explored with Tilly or, like, an arc. It was just like you progressed in power, and now you've been reset to the power limit you had at the beginning of the season.
But you should have learned lessons about being ready for authority.
I don't even know what she learned from her failures of leadership, because it wasn't even her fault.
No.
Osiris somehow knew everything and was never explained.
She did
how
the
did
best
Tilly, how did
she could.
How would Saru have done any better in that situation? He wouldn't have. It's a stacked deck. And then...
Yeah, Michael was the only one that, if she was captain at that stage, would have been able to do it because she's willing to bend the rules.
And that's why I struggle with seeing season 3 as the best season. I walk out of it with a lot of issues, but it all goes back to characters. I think none of the characters' arcs or purposes were served in any of these stories or
the
season
departure of Nan
says a lot.
Says a lot as well.
Says a lot. Like, we went over that, but like it really was like, hey, why did we even bother bringing her here in the future? Same with Giorgio. 2 characters we brought from the past and we spent whole episodes saying goodbye to, when you could have spent those 2 episodes giving Grey or Adira a deeper characterization. Who gives a shit about fucking Nan? Why did you even bring her into the future just to spend a whole episode saying goodbye to her? You could have developed your characters that you have further if you had left her behind or left Giorgio behind, but instead... we had those episodes, and the worst character is Giorgio, by the way. And I'm glad she's gone. I don't know.
Bye-bye, Space Hitler.
As bad as Tilly was this season, or Paul, or Adira, or even Grey.
Doesn't get down to the depth of Philippa, Giorgio, Regina, whatever.
Philippa, of Endor, whatever bullshit they want to keep throwing at me. Space Hitler. It's because there was just too much dissonance with her character, and her character is just one that I didn't even understand why she was in this season, and the show said, I agree, now let's send her away. Just, her character felt like the biggest generator of spinning the wheels in one place. I never felt like we were moving forward when we had Giorgio in any of the scenes or episodes. I felt like we were screeching to a halt and just saying, we're just going to rev the engine in this one spot, and see, the engine's revving, so that must mean something's happening, but not really.
I think the audience has to have a satisfying experience of the season. I think they have to feel it's come full circle and that they've had an arc.
Did anyone get better in the show? We're talking about that many of them got worse, but did anyone get better? Did anyone improve from their journeys of yesteryear? Did anyone get better here?
I think the character that comes closest to possibly being referred to as improved is Hugh.
To a point.
To
15%. So
I was thinking 8, but we're in the same ballpark.
15% loading bar. He was the character that improved the most, but is that a good thing? Because he improved from being a nothing character to being a slight character. I don't know if that's something to commend at this point, or not even this point in the show, but like in this
Papa
point in
Hugh though.
Oh well,
Papa.
You said it, Puppy.
Papa Hugh.
No, Puppy. Remember, Puppy. Remember that? God,
no,
Christ.
That's why I went with Papa, because I was just like, I feel like he's not a dada, he's a papa. But do they call him Puppy?
No, that was Giorgio's pet name for him when they used to fuck in the Mirrorverse.
Oh, that's where I got that from.
Don't be so binary. In my universe, he was pansexual, and we had DEFCON level fun together. And you too, puppy.
Did you just call me Papi?
We're doing a lot of shit talking, a lot of negative talking, but there were good things in this season, just like there have been good things in previous seasons.
I've already mentioned Grudge and how she's a queen.
My-
I don't know what more you want from me.
My favorite moment of the show would have to be like a
the
genuine
Grudge update, right?
No, genuine favorite stuff is when we actually got like competent Captain Saru. And I think I really did enjoy Saru and Tilly's relationship throughout this season, to the point in which in that second episode, when they're walking to eventually get to the bar,
Yeah.
their conversations I found genuinely
Yes.
compelling. I felt like they were earned, and I felt like it made sense because these two characters are, in fact, very much the same character in a lot of ways. They're both anxious people who may not be right for leadership, but it's something that they yearn for and they're on the path to get. And they mentor one another. And I thought that conversation that they had, in which she's confessing how she feels bad about everything and her babbling, and he's letting her know, no, you're good. It was a moment of quiet restraint. Yes, it was telling us a lot, but I felt like it was communicated in a very honest way and was reflective also of what was going to happen in the conflict later in the episode about how those two characters were going to approach it. And then Giorgio came in. I think that's my favorite stuff and moment in this season. And if it was filled with more of that, I would have loved this. What about you? This has a lot of stuff going on, stuff that you've enjoyed as well. Any standout things?
I can't think of anything new that we haven't mentioned, at least briefly. I agree with you about that scene with Saru and Tilly, because it feels slow in a way that Star Trek Discovery does not take its time to do very often.
It's sad that the nice moments that we have are so few, though. Or pretty much most of that second episode is decent to us. We have a smattering of things here and there, little character interactions that reminded us of what we liked about these people in those first two seasons. I think I enjoyed a good amount of stuff with Hugh in terms of him having conflicts with others via his medical professional opinion, which were good.
Oh, I like the points when Hugh does the counseling approach to conflicts, and
But then that
I
reminds you
did-
though of the PTSD storyline, and you're like, oh, forget it.
I did appreciate the way that they do use him in that way, and they make references to his experience in a way that it makes it feel like it matters that he went through that and he's at this point now. But I can't give it like too many points because I know that it didn't really do the work in the first place.
Yeah. This season is just filled to the brim with so many terrible moments. I don't even know what is my standout terrible thing in this season. And I think, like, in the previous years of the show, there was a standout bad decision made. Remember in season 1, it was a lot of the Ash Tyler stuff was very much the bad decisions made. Season 2, going back to the Klingon stuff was a bad decision made, as well as Giorgio, and as well as a few other things.
Here's what I'm going to go with, though, for this season. The way that they deal with the sphere data is what I'm going to go with.
You mean that they don't?
They don't, and they randomly, like, accelerate that plot and then backtrack that plot. Because, like, you know, that all of a sudden the computer gets a voice and it isn't questioned. And then they will use the sphere data sometimes and refer to it in others, but not in a way where it feels like they've gotten used to it, or like it feels like the writers just mention it when they remember. And it doesn't feel in a way where it's purposeful. And then
it doesn't feel like it's organic to anything.
The dots in the last couple of episodes just
were there.
Like it feels like, oh, we just wanted to have a cute moment where Tig Notaro brings the dot back to life. It doesn't feel like they had anything else underneath that.
I think you're right. I think the sphere data, I think it's going to come back, but I don't care. They wasted their time.
Like it still has to be there. On Discovery.
We say that, but I could easily see them spending a whole episode about it becoming
at least in
alive.
The first,
No. I could see this as season 4.
Oh, yes.
Hello, guys. I'm the Sphere Data, and I've made myself a body, and I want to leave the ship and travel the galaxy, learning new information. Bye. And off it goes. I could easily see that happening.
A Kez-like storyline.
No. A Nan-like storyline. In which, hey, I'm in the show. Goodbye now.
Oh, I just want a ball of energy, Ryan.
My least favorite moment has to be in this final episode we just covered. Although I didn't get venomous about it, it was so vile to me of the Admiral speech by Vance being like,
oh, yeah,
she did it her way. And it was the right way. And, I looked at you, Michael, and I was angry that you weren't doing it the right way. But you know what? Damned if your way didn't work too.
I didn't mention that because I think I've made my hatred for that moment very clear.
That is when I felt the pencil snap of the writers writing this down. Like they were just so vehemently writing this down that the pencil broke because of how hard they were pressing in this message on the paper. That fucking speech about like she did it her way and it was the right way, now you did it that way too and I respect that, and you know what, you're a badass, and the audience should respect the fact that you've been annoying the whole season and that you've been doing things in the most egregiously dramatic convenience way ever, in terms of like you've been doing the shitty decisions so that more drama can happen, unnecessary drama can happen, but that was good. I just can't abide by that. I think it was a very patronizing speech by the show. Like, not even at Michael. It just felt like the writer was talking to me and saying, I did a good job with Michael's arc. See? That character written by me said so. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, this show is the show. We're called Yum Yum, Rachel, because of the Yum Yum moment. What would you say was the Yum Yum moment or incident that stood out the most to you in this season? This show is filled to the brim with them.
She's a queen.
She's a queen?
She's a queen.
I would say that.
Specifically the one where he kicks him out of the elevator. I feel like I have to go with that one because that's the one that I remember the best. But what's on your mind?
Oh, when Giorgio blinked holograms to death? I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in Star Trek. Move over, little puppy dog in a unicorn costume as an alien. Giorgio blinking holograms to death is the Yum Yum moment, because it also feels like it comes out of fucking nowhere and it doesn't matter. Like, here's something. At the end of the season, 3 or 4 of our main characters are trapped inside a holodeck. Why don't they just blink it off? Why do they even need Su'Kal to turn it off if they could just fucking blink real fast? Apparently it's a known problem that Giorgio knows. That's the kind of thing where it's like, it was there to make the character look smart, but it only made the show look dumb and the universe look dumb and remind me that, oh, that's right. Humans are dumb.
Blinking at their harmonic rate disrupts the holo protocols, creating a reference loop that shuts them down. Upgrade your programs and stop wasting my time.
What changed the most on this rewatch? We walked in saying a lot of things about what we liked and didn't like, but what did you recognize the most when rewatching it? What was garnered the most on a rewatch value? What had changed?
I don't know. Like, in terms of...
What
I walked in thinking that this was a better season than I am thinking that it is now.
Yeah.
But that's happened for the other 2 seasons as well.
Why does it change so much on a rewatch? Is it just because we know what the full picture is and they don't earn the way that they get there?
I think the main reason is this simple thing.
Mm.
When we're rewatching it, we can't give it excuses.
No, that's a damning way to say it. You can't give it the excuse of, oh, well, I'm sure at the end of the season they'll pull it all together. Or, oh, I'm sure that the next episode will explain what that was. Oh, I'm sure that the sphere data will come back in a meaningful way. You're right. It's harder to give excuses to a show where you know that those excuses don't pay off.
Yeah, which is why we haven't been slamming the sphere data as much, because it's like, oh, well, maybe next season.
No, I don't.
It's just like, oh, well, JoJo's gone now, so...
Section 31 show.
It's not as entertaining to shit on her character. Michael's now captain, so that's her journey there done. And I'm sure they'll do the exact same storyline with her wondering if she should reject the authority or accept it. And if she's a good captain or not. And I don't even know how much Saru will be in the next season.
I was listening back to our old episodes from season 1 recently. I just felt like, what were we thinking back then? What were some issues we were having? And there were issues we were having that we had more so in this season, and that I realized, yes, this has always been there, but this rewatch of this particular season really highlighted to me the issue. We've had it from day one. So many things happen off screen, and we have to take the word that matters in some way. And season 3, I knew that was happening when we were first watching it, but it wasn't a complaint I had. I was just like, oh, yeah. But when rewatching it, oh, fuck, It felt so, like, that's another reason why this season feels so empty to me. Like, the world is so many thrilling things that literally need to be shown for the plot to make sense or be satisfying happen off screen. They just say, Michael and Book save the day
Such
off
an
screen.
Incomplete jigsaw puzzle. And it's just a mess.
And I think we've had this issue in the past, but there was things that, what they did have were better substitutions of things. While here, like, you spend 20 to 30 minutes of a whole episode just explaining why Michael has changed instead of just showing it, honestly. Like, again, show don't tell. But here, that was really, like, I felt like such an idiot watching it back, because I was like, how did I not get so angry about this in that first watching of it? And it's because I was making excuses. I'm like, oh, well, I'm sure that, the People of Earth episode felt like an after-school special, and they left things to the last minute and showed things off screen because I'm sure Earth will factor into the story later somehow. They did not. So when you go back and watch People of Earth, you just go, oh, Michael and Book did this thing off screen. Oh, because they were lazy or they didn't have the budget or whatever excuse we can make. It's an excuse. And I think that's just so, like, interesting about the season is, upon the rewatch, is they just cut corners so much more than than in the previous seasons. We had these issues too, but we also talked about what was there more often. In this season, we kept talking about so much of what wasn't here, and that should have been here, needed to be here, and less so about what was actually there, because what was actually there was so slight and small.
The rewatch squashes our hope.
So you're saying you wouldn't watch this season again?
Fuck no.
You don't want me to fire it up right now?
I think the audience has to have a satisfying experience of the season. I think they have to feel it's come full circle and that they've had an arc.
What's that, Rachel? I can hear the Hugh-dar. Let's talk about Hugh Culber Season 3. better than he has been in any other season.
Better, but still doesn't get more than 15% on the progress bar towards becoming a character.
I think I said most of it in our previous episode. I'm not interested in Hugh Culber. They've had 3 seasons. They could have made him a far more interesting character than they have. We've had whiffs of him being interesting. We've had tinges of him as a character in this season, better than the none we had before, but
like I think that the blogs did a lot of that work.
Yeah, but
it's not good.
You know what I think about with Hugh? Back in the day, well, even now, people would say, well, Ryan, they don't have enough time. You see, back in the old days,
time for what you care about.
Back in the old days, they could have a whole episode about Hugh Culber because they had 26 episodes a season, so there was more time. Blah 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 blah. We're 3 seasons in. They've focused on him so little, and now that they are slightly focusing on him, it just highlights how much they didn't in the past. But I still reject it. I still reject it because I look back on something like, I know people get tired of it, Babylon 5. Babylon 5, the Doctor was not in every fucking episode of the show, but in the first season, you have 2 prominent episodes early on, just 2 episodes just based on him, and I knew instantly who he was, what he was about, and what he wanted, and everything about what I needed to know about that character. Hugh, 3 seasons in, I'm still trying to figure out what kind of doctor he is. Like, what's his specialty? What's his interests? What's his ideology? Still figuring it out 3 seasons in. I'm just not interested in Hugh. But he did get better in this season. He did. Do you think that they'll continue to better his character, or do you think that they're pleased with this?
I think this is it.
What about Papa Hugh? They can explore that next season of what he's going to be like as a father.
I think that's going to fall back more on Stamets.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was this season.
Yeah, like, I think Hugh is going to continue to be there.
I promise you, it's all good.
What would you give this season? A Yum being bad or Yum Yum being good?
Yum.
Yum.
Best season. It's a Yum. I don't know what you gave the other 2 seasons. I can't remember now. But if one of them got a Yum Yum.
Yum too.
2 Yums, that bad, huh?
Well, no, it's a Yum Yum Yum.
Mine is a Yum.
Yum.
This is the worst season.
Good.
I'll never want to watch this again. I don't even want to be...
I never want to watch any of them again.
I don't want to talk about this.
I don't even want to watch season 4 again, and it's not even out yet, and you're going to make me watch it twice.
What do you think's going to happen? Like, what do you think the future of season 4 is going to... Like, of Star Trek Discovery, not just season 4. Where do you see this all going?
It's gone nowhere. So, I think it's going to continue to go nowhere.
But we've got Captain Michael now, and her and Paul could have some dramas, and Paul and Hugh can have some dramas, and Tilly's going to feel bad about how she let everyone down as captain, and then we have the dots.
You mean that thing that, like, Gene Roddenberry said that he never wanted?
Oh, interpersonal conflicts. But who cares what Gene Roddenberry did and didn't want?
But
what do you want?
But we have the quote from Gene at the end of this season.
Oh, when they directly evoke Gene. Yeah. The show itself. Yeah, it's hard not to think about him, huh? When the show directly evokes him and references him. What do you want from Star Trek Discovery at this point? Like, where can this go? What do you think's going to be?
I genuinely don't know. My first thought when you asked me that question was to answer with cancel it.
All I can see in the future of Star Trek Discovery, well, next season, they said that they were going to have an antagonist that was more of like not a person, but like an event or a thing. And all I can think of is, so help me God, if they're doing like a virus season. So help me fucking God, if they try to do any commentary on COVID, I think they're just going to fall flat on their faces. The only thing I see in the future of Star Trek Discovery, this is how I see it ending. This is how I see the series as a whole ending.
Well, I thought that it was going to end with Michael becoming the captain
No.
that the revolving captain chair stops.
No. Here's how I see it ending. This is the only image I see. Shot of Michael smiling and crying. Credits.
Oh, yes. That's got to be it.
And that's all I see for the show, is that image in my brain. Like, that's the whole show from this point. Like, there's no... I don't see Saru. I don't see anyone else. All I see is Michael tearfully yet joyously smiling. Like, I'm victorious, but also I'm emotional.
I think that's the end of our episode too.
Yeah, that's it. I'm so happy to be over this. Rachel,
Thank you, Ryan.
Where can people find us on the internet, Rachel?
How they can take a look at those links in the description or find us on various social medias at YumYumPod or YumYumPodcast, including Twitter, Instagram,
Facebook.
over on our subreddit. And if you want to support the show and get access to even more content from us that's Star Trek related and non-Star Trek related, you can do that by supporting us on Patreon.
Yeah, we'll be coming out next episode with our update on what the future of our podcast will be. What show we're moving on to
Nandi already knows.
Next. Nandi already knows. You can go to our Patreon and listen to this episode early as well as some extra bonus content that will also be coming out on the feed in the next few episodes times. But yes, we are progressing. We are going past Star Trek Discovery. We can't go any further. This is it. There's no short treks. This is it for the time being. Like we said, we will be...
I'm a free elf!
You're a free elf. I'm a free elf too. But I'm more of a Nandi elf. So I'm glad that this is over, Rach. I am somewhat looking towards season 4, but in a way where I'm like, here's what I mean. What I love about this time now is we are in, as we record this, in an era where there's no new Star Treks on.
Yeah.
And I am happy about that. Because I felt...
something that you wanted so long, you're happy to...
not be in the swamp of Star Trek's modern iterations.
You wanted new Star Trek for so many years. And it's been so bad that you would rather have nothing.
Yeah.